G'day guys, welcome to the Pumped on Property Show. In this episode, Simon and I get really into the nuts and bolts plus the philosophical stuff behind, this 9 to 5 escape plan, which is effectively going from wherever we are right now to a place of financial freedom and choices in the future.
It's really fun talking about what financial freedom is to us, why we're searching for financial freedom and how we're also going to get there. But it's really nice to hear both of our opinions on how that has changed so much since when we first started our journey, from when we first set those goals to where we are today and everything in between there.
I remember, man, starting out being an absolute little shit, just chasing it as hard as I could, saving every dollar, and now getting to a place where it's like, I know it's going to take me a while, so why not sit back, enjoy the journey, and sort of let it go, but consistently work towards where I need to be as well.
It's the exact same for me, a really selfish individual strategy, and then everything sort of changed when I met Tay, and then how that strategy changed and the way that I started operating in the world. And it went from having a destination focus and putting the end result on a pedestal to actually putting the journey as the number one goal and as the most important aspect. So really hope you guys enjoy today's podcast. Let's get into it.
So one of the things that we were both talking about before we started to hit record, man, is this concept of everybody knows that financial freedom is good, but nobody's talking about why it's important, not just for society as a whole, but for each individual person that gets to achieve it.
It's like always the goal, but it's always just the goal. Like when I talk to people in strategy sessions, when I talk to my friends, it's like, what do you want for the future? Well, I want to be financially free. And it's like, let's elaborate on that. And why do you want to be financially free? And what does it mean to you? Because what we were just saying off camera as well is like, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Both of us are sort of saying that like in the past, we've been trying to be financially free as soon as possible. But now because we're doing our life's work, we're living our purpose, the journey is far more important, less so than the destination, even though we still want to end up getting there.
I love that, bro. Like, what does financial freedom mean to you? Because financial freedom, I've realized, is a lofty goal. And it's as simply described as replacing your current annual salary, right? Like, that's what financial freedom starts with, or replacing the basic living costs in your life plus the lifestyle costs so that you don't have to worry about money anymore.
For sure. Like that's the first place to start, right? But I think it's going to constantly change, because my vision of financial freedom 3-4 years ago compared to what it is now is completely different. You've got to be willing to change with that, because when we first sat down back in like 2017, when I first started working with you, we were like, okay, let's develop a strategy. I wasn't in a position to buy anything then, but the strategy at the time was let's buy 2 properties, and then, over time, let's work on paying off the debt on those properties, and I'll get to live with it. But then I meet Tay, we develop a great relationship. She becomes a part of my long-term future. She came into the relationship with a bit of money, and with that money, we're able to buy more properties, and then real quickly that changed, right? And it's like, it goes from 2 properties, now we're sitting at 4 properties, and it's like the end goal is going to be far different, far better, because like those circumstances have changed. And I think you've got to be willing to move fluidly with that.
I love that, man. Like, what did financial freedom as a day-to-day lifestyle look like for you 4 years ago, and what does it look like now?
Look, 4 years ago, it looked like not having to work, choosing to work.
Yeah.
I've always still had the thought that I would never wanted to stop working, right? I think you're the same with that. Like, I just feel as though like whenever I take more than 2 weeks off, I get a little bit bored. Yeah. Maybe that's something I've got to work on, like to find a little bit more, less boredom in that downtime. But still, it's a reality. Like for me to be happy, and financial freedom to me is living by choice, but living with purpose as well, because like financially is just one aspect of freedom to me.
Yeah.
But there's a whole bunch of other stuff like health, like family, like relationships, like spirituality that is just as important to me as financial freedom. So it's like freedom in general, but financially it's being able to, and this hasn't changed 4 years ago to today, it's being able to do what I want when I want to do it, to be able to buy myself a new surfboard if I want to buy myself a new surfboard, to be able to take Tay on a holiday if I want to take Tay on a holiday, to be able to buy a dog if we want to buy a dog.
Been doing a few of these things lately.
I've done all of these things lately, you know? So it's like I could say, based on those goals, that I'm already financially free in a way. But, you know, I think long term it's definitely not necessarily having to work for that, but it just generally coming in.
I love that.
If that makes sense. What about you? Like, what does it mean, and has it changed from 10 years ago when you first started investing to today?
Man, my 10 years ago self was just an ambitious little, just make anything happen type guy.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like 10 years ago, I was like, honestly, I'm going to buy properties. I'm going to take over this shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to create an empire through my property portfolio. And I'm going to do anything it takes to get there. You know what I mean? Like, so I was just saving every single dollar that I had. I was working side hustles. I was like taking on contracts. I was working with entrepreneurs that were already financially free to figure out how they'd done it. I was sitting down with 2 or 3 people a week that were wealthy or had businesses or that were investors and going like, how did you do it? What would you do differently? Reading the books, going to the seminars, doing the education and doing the conditioning that makes today's life so much easier. Because what I've realized is that people that go all in one thing end up figuring out that thing much faster. Like if you're dabbling in 10 things for 20 years, you're going to be okay at 10 things. If you dabble at one thing for 5 or 10 years, you're going to be lifetimes, I think, ahead of where the average person's at that can't focus on one thing. So luckily for me, property made sense and it led me to my end goal, which was I want to be financially free. And it was at that time probably way more about the money than it is now. Like it's such a cop out to say this, and I laugh with some of my friends about it all the time. They're like, you can only say that because like you've got the tiniest bit of passive income now, and it's like, but it's not about the money, man. Like people don't get it. And there's that famous Jim Carrey thing where he's speaking to his school and he's like, I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they would know that
you don't want to be rich and famous.
Yeah, or maybe you do, but it's not going to make you happy when you get there. Like expecting that the goal of financial freedom or being rich or famous is going to change your life for the better in any way is a fallacy. Like it's an absolute lie sewn together by people generally that are trying to sell you some shit.
And I reckon there's really 2 different types of people, right? There's the people who are fortunate enough like us that are doing their life's work. They're extremely passionate about what they do and they can't wait to get out of bed on a Monday morning. There's that type of person, but then there's...
I love those people, by the way, that choose to get out of bed in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like maybe you and I both bumped out of bed this morning.
Yeah.
You know, and then tomorrow you jump out of bed and it's like, the choice is what happens after that for the rest of your day, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I still think there's like probably more people that are on the other side that are like, you know, maybe working in a job that they're not super passionate about. Maybe it isn't in alignment with their values. Maybe they're not working with people that they get along with. Maybe they don't have a great boss. Maybe they've got to commute an hour and a half to work each way. Like all of these hard little things. And that's tough, and it does create a little bit of resistance there. So, you know, a lot of that type of, those type of people are trying to escape the 9 to 5. They're trying to get out of what they're doing at the moment. So you still need a plan, right? And you still need to have an end goal. But what you'll realize throughout that journey from when you set the goal to when you achieve it is it's that in-between part that is the most important part.
And the funnest part, like, it's so fun figuring out how you're going to get there. And then when you get that plan that's going to work for you and then you slowly execute it and every step builds confidence once you know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the biggest thing, like, to answer the question. Like, that's who I was when I started, but the person I am now just wants to be at home 3 days a week with my kids and wants to come home in the afternoons and be present. And my psychologist said this to me. He's like, how about instead of filling your life with so much self-care to maintain flow, that you just create a life that is flow?
Yeah.
And since he said that, it's taken me like 6 months to
Yeah.
figure that out. But like, what if financial freedom, which is effectively just money so that you've got a choice,
Yep.
was to test what worked for you? Like
Yeah.
health,
Yeah.
relationships, spirituality, spending time with your kids, taking school holidays off with them, being at home just after they get home in the arvos, like
Yeah.
cutting the commutes out of your life. Like, what if it isn't a financial thing at all? It is in every moment a present or a conscious choice towards who you want to be and making decisions to be your best self.
Yeah, I think as well, you've got to do the reps to create the habit for financial freedom. So when we're investing, you've still got to create the habit of saving. You've still got to put your money in where your mouth is and invest. You've still got to build your team of advisors, work away at it. When it comes to fitness, if you've got a fitness goal, you've still got to get out of bed and you've still got to go to the gym. You've still got to do the work. If you want to be mindful, you've still got to meditate. You've got to sit there with yourself and meditate. So I think the goal is, of course, always to just to have it in abundance.
Yeah.
Invest to a point where you are financially free and you've got the passive income you want. Train enough so that it's no longer, oh shit, I got to go to the gym. It's like, hell yeah, I got to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And same with meditation. It's like, it begins as like this chore to create the habit, to create the routine, but with consistency, with development, with time, it's going to change from this thing that you have to do to this thing that you naturally want to do. And we were talking about it yesterday with training, right? It's like, I go up and down with training. Sometimes I'm super motivated. Other times I'm not as motivated. But nowadays it's like, the other day we had a Halloween party. I had a few too many beers and I was feeling worse for wear the next day. But I still did something, you know. I still did a tiny little workout and
Wish I could say the same thing,
my
man.
body.
I was in bed till like 12 o'clock, just fucked, eh?
I'm glad. I went to bed 4 hours early.
I know, I just didn't know when to turn it off.
Yeah. But like, you know what I mean? It's like, you gotta build the habits, right? From somewhere, right? And you gotta start somewhere, but then it will change eventually.
I love that.
If that makes sense.
You mentioned that there's two types of people. Like, one of them was the person that's looking to find a positive change in their life, like looking for a solution to the problem, which is, I'm unhappy, fill it in with the commute, with my partner, with my financial situation, with my inability to see my kids, with my job, with my career. And that is the beautiful thing about pressure, is it starts to create cracks. And if you can stay in that pressure, as uncomfortable as it is, it will create a diamond longer term.
Love
But
that.
what's the other type of person, man, that you mentioned there's two? So
Yeah,
that's the person trying to get out of what they're doing.
The other type of person is us. It's the person that's living in alignment with their values, that enjoys getting out of bed in the morning and going to work. They enjoy what they do. They're passionate about what they do, and they're not trying to escape anything because they're already living their best lives.
So then they might not even be financially free yet. Like, both of us are still working towards it, but because we're choosing to find the joy in the work we do, and we have gone towards a direction that is service, like, it feels different, man. And it's like, okay, I'm still 15 years away from where I saw myself, but I'm going to enjoy the shit out of, 9 out of 10 days over that journey.
And it's like, when you were 20, you set a goal that you want to be financially free by 30.
Yeah.
And then when I was 24, I set a goal that I want to be financially free in 7 years. I think it was just I wanted to try and beat Ben.
Man, I'm still not there, so you probably will.
But you kind of completely overset your expectations in the beginning when you're young. But then you kind of learn as time goes on that it's not about the money, and that time frame, it isn't as relevant when you love what you do. Because we've talked about this heaps recently, that I've just found this untapped motivation that I didn't realise that was there. I think it's when all things fell into place, because I kind of got the fourth property. That was my accumulation phase done. I proposed to Tay, got a yes. And I sort of knew that she was going to be my long-term future. And I was in my house, the renovations had finished, and I was finally, I could finally look at myself in the mirror and be happy with the person that I saw there. And I wasn't like I didn't feel like an imposter anymore, and I feel as though
I love
I was
hearing
there.
that, man. That's the bomb.
It was. You've seen it, man, over the last 6 months. Like, it's been a complete change, and all of the insecurities that I had were things that I put on myself.
Yeah.
But I just sort of looked at myself from a bigger picture view and realized that my life is amazing. I'm really happy. And from this came this unbelievable amount of motivation that now I'm focusing into the business. We've got some really awesome plans I can't wait to talk about and implement and things like that. But from that weight off my shoulders and that realization that I do have time, everything is going to work out, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, because I used to always put the destination on a pedestal as to when I get there, I will be this.
Yes.
Now it's like, by the time I get there, I will be this.
Or by becoming this, I will get there.
Yeah.
Like Jim Rohn said that, and it's like, don't become a millionaire to become a millionaire. Become a millionaire for who you become on the journey, because it takes a lot to become healthy, to become mentally clear, to have good relationships, to have, you know, a habit of saving and then investing, or to find like joy in your career to exceed everybody else within that space. It's like, it's a funny thing, man, and it's all one little tiny little piece at a time.
It's one little piece.
You know, I remember like the very first time I was having like a full on like what's going on moment. I think I was like 27 or 28, and I went and saw this psychologist, and I only needed to see her once. Like, and she said, I just said that. I was like, I'm so frustrated because I can see who I'm supposed to be, but I'm not there. And she got me to just stand in the room. I've talked about this before. And she said, where did you set this goal? And I said, there. She's like, where does it end? And I said, there, which was the sides of the rooms. And then she's like, where are you now? And I'm like, here. And she's like, well, if you look, you're already 80% of the way there. Like, just, it's perspective.
It's perspective.
It's the shift in like, just because the results aren't there yet doesn't mean that the groundwork's not going in, that's watering them, that's fertilizing them, that's giving it sunshine, that's going to result in what you need it to be.
It's like that 1% better rule, right? It's like if you just try and be 1% better, over time, that compounded is going to be amazing. I don't know, there's a graph or there's like an actual sheet that you can look at. I forget it. You might know it off the top of your head, but it's like if you just try and do something 1% better or 1% more than what you've done in the past, that 1% compounded over time is going to be so amazing for you.
I love that, man. I love that so much. It's a funny thing, this. Like, I think it's so binary because the things that are the soft things that we're talking about now, you know, nobody on the start of the journey to financial freedom is talking about the soft stuff. It's always the hard stuff. It's how much can I save? What can I put in my spreadsheet? You know, how much time am I putting into learning? How much time am I putting into realestate.com? How much time am I putting into this or that? Like, and there's so much angst, like it's like this pressure, but I get the reason why there's the pressure now, and that's because I truly believe that we're all supposed to live our best version of ourselves in this lifetime. The angst that you're feeling isn't, I fucking hate my job, or I'm not seeing my kids, or I'm not financially free yet, or I don't have a plan to get there. It is, I'm supposed to be doing something bigger with my life, and I'm not. And it's crushing me.
Yeah.
And financial freedom is the vehicle to break this socially constructed system of like, there's a reality that you need to pay for electricity and food and a home and a car. And it's like, those things are a barrier to true happiness, but they're also the way to true happiness too. Like, it's a hell of a lot better to live this way than it was 100 years ago, man.
Well, it's a reality. Like, you need money. You need money to live in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. So our idea of financial freedom is that if you've looked after that one aspect of life, which is finance, and if you're free from finances through a passive income, whatever it might be, whatever your strategy is, I'd love to go into one maybe in a second. But regardless, it's a reality. You need to do something. If you can take care of that, then maybe you're going to free up more time to think about other things. And we've seen it with clients, right? They've been working a job that they hate, You know, how many miners have you talked with over the year that were like, yeah, I did it. I was going to just do it for 3 years. I'm 10 years in.
Yeah.
They all go for the money. They're all chasing it.
Solicitors, doctors, engineers, like I hear that story. It's across industry because it's a human experience to be like, shit, like, is this all? Because I really saw myself when I was a kid, like helping more people that I'm getting to help and not being as self-centered as I have to be right now just to put food on the table.
Yeah, but with a couple of wins, with a great strategy, you can separate yourself from that previous identity and then move into a place of, well, I'm going to choose something for me, maybe move back to my hometown, maybe change careers. And yeah, I might take a little bit of an income hit, but at least I've got these investments working away for me. So I've got the confidence. So taking care of the financials is going to help people free up the capacity to think about what they truly want to do, the person that they truly want to become.
Love that, man. Like, taking care of the financials is like giving your future self a massive hug.
Yep.
And going, I've got you, now
Be yourself.
get off my back and I'm just going to get into this moment. You know what I mean? Like, I've got you, now have me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Help me just enjoy this
and
one.
You've got to. But I think it'll happen way sooner. Like, it'll happen way sooner than when you're actually financially free. Like, once you've got it, once you've got the portfolio, once you've got the assets, then you can see the forest through the trees. You can see that end goal as a reality that's going to come to fruition with work.
It's just a time delay once
It's
you've
just
got
a time
them.
delay.
You know, I look at the portfolios that we both have and, you know, we've continued to both invest beyond like where we originally started to. And so as you buy another property...
I told ya I shouldn't be wearing this white man of McGrath. I'll spill it all over me.
Shirt one, day one. Yeah, we bought some new shirts. And it's like, let's see how long they last on camera. But it's that concept of like, it's just going to take a little bit longer. But once you've got them set up, like, you can sort of go enough's enough, or you can continue to invest a little bit further beyond just basic living needs like we both have chosen to. And as you invest in more, it takes away the capacity to pay off others a bit faster.
Yeah.
But it sets up for that down the line thing.
Yeah. So obviously your strategy has significantly changed over the years with experience, with time, with conversations with amazing people. So like, I feel as though it's so important to kind of give people a clear example or something that they can do to start creating this.
Yeah, like in terms of a 9 to 5 escape plan, like
Yeah.
I can't find a simpler way to do it than this right now.
No.
Now, our strategy is so simple, man. It's
And I think simplicity is key as well.
Yeah.
Because when you try and overcomplicate things, it takes you away from finding the confidence to do it. And doing it is the most important thing. Doing it is everything. So having a simple, clear, easy to execute strategy, yes, it might change in the future. That's
Yeah.
fine, but start with the beginning.
I love that. And so many people listening to this are doing it in other areas of their life. Like if you're eating clean, if you're telling the
Training.
people you love that you love them, if you're training, if you're finding joy in work that may not be joyful for you, if you're trying to help other people, those are all examples every day of doing it, or just even breathing or smiling. Like, so it's like, well, if you're already doing it in that space, like, it's that easy to carry it across into this. And so many people would be so far on their journey already listening to this. So,
Yeah.
you know, for me, it's the 3 properties, the financial freedom strategy, which is simply step 1, accumulation, buy 3 houses.
Yep. Quality houses, dual strategy, capital growth with some decent cash flow.
It's that simple. And it's like, if you want to do them all in Sydney, do them in Sydney and spend $4 million doing 3. If you want to do them all in Perth, do them all in Perth and spend $1 million doing 3. If you want to do 3 in Brisbane, do them in Brisbane. Like, choose your lane and stick to your lane. Or like some of our clients do, like 1 in Melbourne, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Brisbane, 1 in Perth, whatever you want to do. And then it's like, accumulation is only complete once you have bought the 3 houses, right?
Yeah.
Then we move into the second phase, which is consolidation, and that is just paying off the debt.
Yep.
So I pay principal and interest off my properties. I use the tax benefits, if I get any, to pay off debt. As the debt goes down and the rent increases, I get surplus rent or extra rent every week. I pay that straight off the debt. I kick in a little bit extra per week from my own pocket, like $100 per week per property.
Yep.
And then for me personally, I have this partner property strategy, which is like, instead of just having 3, I might have 4, and in 15 years from now, I'll sell that 4th. I'll pay a shitload of tax to the Australian government, which is cool.
Yep.
And then I will use whatever I've made over that 15 years after I paid the government to wipe off the remaining debt.
Yeah.
Now, those things, like 5 odd things, are going to get you like a long way towards where you need to be in 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I've done as well. I've got my 3 investment properties, and then I've got my home on top of that. And I'm not sure. I'm probably going to sell one of them. I'm going to try and hold on to all 3 of them, but I'm not putting too much pressure on that decision because it's not necessary right now.
Yeah.
Like what I'm working on right now is just getting them set up in the way that I want them to be, which includes knocking down, rebuilding, renovating, different things like that, because that was my personal strategy. But I can see how with consistency, this is going to come together. And there's 2 things that you can do depending on your risk profile, right? When you move into that consolidation phase, you can buy additional properties, hold them, sell them to pay off debt. Mm-hmm. Or if you're a bit more of a conservative person, you might just say, hey, I'm just going to put them all on P&I. I'm going to use all the profits and pay them against a property. But then rather than saving to buy more property, I'm just going to save to pay off debt.
Love it.
You know, like once again, it doesn't have to be this complicated strategy. Like it only has to be 3 properties if that's where your risk profile sits. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's where your serviceability sits. If you've got like a single income with a young family or something like that, you've got to move with it. But the reality is, like, it can be done with 3 properties. It can be done with 400K properties.
I love that, man. And if, you know, each of those 3 properties rent for $500 a week.
Yep.
5 times 3 is $1,500 a week today.
Yep.
And in 15 years' time, with a 2.5% increase in the rent, we're now looking at basically $2,000 for those properties a week in rent, times 50 weeks a year is $100K a year.
Yeah.
And so once you've gone through step 1, accumulation, and stage 2, consolidation, the 3rd stage is just freedom.
Lifestyle,
and,
freedom.
You know, we used to say that was where it all begun, but I think that is so untrue. Like, it begins now at whichever stage you're actually at.
I agree.
You don't wait 15 years to live the life that you imagined. You live that life now, and you have a financial hat on in the background that is stepping you towards a better future as well.
Yeah, because it's there. The foundations are laid, right? So you can immediately pivot to become that person that you want to be. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is what's happened to me now as well. Like that freedom after finishing the accumulation phase, which was the 3 investments plus my own home. That was the accumulation phase. Once I met Tay, that was what I wanted to achieve. I did that, and then there was this freeing feeling which allowed me to start focusing on other aspects of life, which is diving deeper into mindfulness, which is like starting to plan for a family, a wedding, trips overseas, like creating my ideal life now.
Love that.
And this is where I've been able to get my work down to 4 days per week. You know, I'm able to take 4 weeks, 5 weeks holidays per year, and I'm starting to live my dream life today. So it's like, we used to say lifestyle was the end of this 15 years, but my perspective has shifted 100% now, and I think it's the opposite. It's once a consolidation phase starts.
Because as soon as you're not accumulating anymore and saving to get to your next step, or taking equity to get to your next step, a lot of pressure does fall off. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're a person that's used to saving $1,000 a week to buy properties for 5 years, and then you don't have to save $1,000 a week anymore.
Yeah.
Or if you're used to saving $250 a week, and all of a sudden you don't need to save that much every week now, like, things can start to loosen up. Like, you've talked about 2 things, one of them being like the things that you're doing now, and like the way that you're like loosening up your lifestyle, but how does it make you feel? Because I think that's important for people to recognize. Like, it's not just more stuff, which is cool, or more experiences, which is cool, or how you spend your time, which is cool, but internally the feeling of like, I've done what I said I was going to do, and that builds confidence.
In one word, it's freeing. It's a freeing feeling. Like, and that's why it's financial freedom. Like, I feel free. I feel free to choose to do what I want to do. And I can justify buying the motorbike, or learning this new skill, or going on this holiday now, because I know all that's going to do is it might take an extra 2 months. It might take an extra 3 months to pay off. And it's like, once you're there, once you've got it, it's like, what's an extra 2 months? What's an extra 3 months? It's not the end of the world.
It's nothing like compared to saving for 2 years to buy a house.
Nothing
or 3
like,
years, you know what I mean?
yeah. Because like we just did the video before, which is like, how much does it cost to buy a property? And it's like, it costs so much money to get a property. That,
it's easy to get a $3,000 moto.
It's easy to get a $3,000 moto. Exactly. But to me, it's a freeing feeling, but a freeing feeling that I didn't even know existed. How does it feel to you?
I think for me, in terms of how it's made me feel, is just like myself again.
Love that.
You know what I mean? Like, just getting back to that, like, because we were all kids once that had dreams, that didn't have any boundaries, that had unlimited potential, that were kind, that gave a shit about other people, that just were in the moment. And I think this is what this is giving me. Like, now I'm getting further through it. It's like just remembering that, like, I'm a good person that cares about other people, that can do whatever they want to do within reason, of course. And like, that's so positive. Like, it's so freeing to just let go of all of the, like, I've got probably more like responsibility than 99% of people alive, but I don't feel like I have any. And that's like an incredible place to be. Like, just letting go of who I thought I should be, because that gap between who I said I was going to be and who I am is closed. And I've also come all the way full circle back around to remember who I am. Because like I said to you after listening to this thing, like, we're born absolutely mindful, present and fully conscious.
Yeah.
And then we lose it, and it's like, you don't have to try and be anything. You just have to strip away all the social stuff and then go back to who you were. And just trust that's going to work out, man. And that's where I feel like I'm at now. Like, I love what we do.
Yeah.
I love how we help people. I love that I've just realised I only want a small number of properties owned outright in the future, and that's enough. I just want a tiny little business that helps a few people a month. Like,
I love it, man.
How freeing.
Dude, it's so freeing. It's so beautiful here as well that like you can do that. And I think you needed to do what you needed to do to go full circle and come back. But you got to get home. You got to come back. And I think that's, you know, how you do it. Like, how do you escape the 9 to 5? My personal opinion is it begins with perspective. If you want to escape the 9 to 5, change the perspective that you've got on what you're doing, and trying, as you were saying off camera, try and find the gratitude in what you can do, and try and find the positives as opposed to looking toward the negatives, and try and shift your perspective to that. But just as important as perspective is it's action. You've got to get started. You've got to get started at some point in time. You've got to either start saving if you haven't already, or you've got to start investing if you haven't already done so, because we're coming off like a 20% growth year around Australia almost. Like, that's huge in so many markets. So for people that already have their home or maybe one investment property, they're probably sitting on a pretty decent amount of equity in that property now. So a lot of people that are listening to this are probably in a position to get that next step started.
Go talk to their broker, yeah.
Go talk to the broker, get it started, and stop trying to jump around to try and turn, you know, a 15-year goal into a 2-year goal. Have a bit more perspective and go, all right, like, let's change the way that I perceive my reality at the moment. Let's do the necessary work to get started, to start working away at this, because it's not going to take you 15 years to feel free. It's only going to take a few years to change the habits, to change the way that you see yourself, to actually, no worries, to change your life, I reckon.
I love that, man. It's like, why are you doing this? To become the best version of yourself for yourself and other people. How do you do it? If you don't have a plan, the 3 properties, the financial freedom one is like simple. And like, what we do right now is, if you're not already doing it, make that absolute decision that the only reason you're going to work at the moment, outside of supporting your family or yourself to survive, is to save money, to invest money, to get free. As soon as I realized at age like 23 and a half that I was going to work to make money, to invest it so that I could not work long term in the future, I was not enjoying many jobs that I had, but I didn't give a shit, because it's like every week I could save money And then when I started to go, well, saving money is cool, but it's going to take time. Now I'm going to invest in like figuring out skills in this workplace and changing the workplace if I can't develop the skills further.
Because speed it up.
Sped it up. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, what was a 30-year to 50-year plan for most people listening to this can become 15 years and everything will have changed.
Man, it's so epic. I'm so grateful to have these types of conversations, and we're not there. Like, I'm so far from financial
Same.
freedom. Like,
I've got so much debt.
I've got so much debt right now. It's insane. And
But I love it. 'cause
even
I'm
if I
working
were
towards
to
it.
sell all of them, like, I still couldn't consider myself financially free. So, like, the journey is everything, right? And that's what I'm loving at the moment. Like, I'm loving my rituals, my habits, the things that I'm doing to stay in flow, to stay positive. I'm loving what I'm learning around investing, around business, around selling, around being a better version of myself. And like, I've just stopped putting the future on a pedestal, and I've realized that I'm exactly where I am meant to be right now.
Yeah.
Be here.
I love that, bro, so much, man. I'm super grateful. I just don't know what to say, but thank you guys for listening. Like, I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I like the philosophical and the real life stuff and the property related stuff that we're getting to talk about now, because it's where we're at. And I know so many of you guys listening to this are at too, because we're not one-dimensional people. We're multi-dimensional with big dreams and fears and little steps that we need to take and big leaps. And it's just like, just recognizing that we're all of these things in one. And that we will get there if we keep like just consistently showing up and taking the action.
Do the reps.
Do the reps.
Do the reps, just like LeBron. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty.